Good morning, afternoon, evening, or night, whenever you may find yourself watching or listening to this. Hopefully, the Northeast Bull Rush is back, and we're in the home stretch. I'm Omar, as always, joined by John, my co-host. Final weekend of college football. Too. I'm not sure if the Rutgers Maryland Bowl eligibility Mega Bowl lived up to expectations. Not really in my opinion, but I don't know. What are your thoughts on that, John?
Yeah, it was a little bit lopsided, unfortunately. I hate to say it, my prediction was wrong. Everything about my prediction was right up until the actual game between Rutgers and Maryland. But it was a valiant fight by both teams. And I think, as we were saying last week, great win for Maryland and Mike Loxley. They needed to get a bowl in what's this, his fourth year, fifth year, something like that. Nah, I can't remember, but if he didn't get a bowl game this year, he would be on the hot seat. And I think Rutgers fans are still pretty energized about Shiano. So it's a good result, I suppose, for the Northeast and for the Big Ten.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Yeah, I mean, and again, yeah, I think Loxley's job is safe, like you say, and I think Rutgers fans recognize that it's a long crawl to the top. Hopefully next year they can get that elusive bowl berth. But yeah, just a good result all around, and really, I guess, kind of interesting in terms of Maryland because Maryland's kind of a big wild card, as we'll talk about later on. So I guess before we get into it, I guess we'll recap like all the bowl eligible teams, or I guess teams that did not make it that we won't really be talking about much. Syracuse ended up losing to Pitt. Sean Tucker did not seem very happy in his tweet after the game, so that might be a red flag for next year. They were very competitive against Pitt, but cannot pull it out. So I think Dino Babers is on the hot seat. And I guess in terms of other bowl eligible teams, or other teams fighting for bowl eligibility in the Northeast, that was it. That did not make it. I think. Am I missing anyone?
Yeah, who was close there? Between it was just Cuse and Rutgers really at the end.
Yeah, and I mean, there was a nice Northeastern rivalry too. I just want to make note of this Navy Temple. Hopefully, the American figures it out and has those teams play on Thanksgiving weekend. Great regional rivalry. I mean, a good amount of history too with Navy and Temple both being independents for a while. So make that rivalry a yearly thing, American, which I don't think they will, but there's always hope.
Yeah. Well, Navy kind of screwed everything up for the American when they joined and wanted to play, the Western division teams, get that Texas recruiting pipeline. If they had stayed around in the East and it was Temple, Navy, Cincy, and East Carolina, like that, it's not that bad of a travel schedule. And yeah, if you could put Temple and Navy in for the rivalry game, yeah, that would be pretty sweet. But now, you got UCF, Cincy leaving, Houston as well. It's all moot.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I would be down also for a Navy Tulane rivalry on the final weekend. They alternate those somehow. I mean, Tulane, great academic prowess, along with the Naval Academy. So, again, if the Americans want, if I guess the Americans watching it for the future, make that happen. Do not try to make Navy Charlotte rivalry. Don't have a good feeling about that one. But Navy Temple and Navy and Tulane are your two directions to go for rivalry. I guess just a brief aside from what we should be talking about. So, I guess for the later of this show. First, we're gonna go with the bowl teams, and then I guess the specific bowls in the Northeast with non-Northeastern teams playing in them. So I guess beginning with Maryland, John, where do you have Maryland ending up?
I think most likely is going to be the pinstripe. It looks like pinstripe for Maryland. I mean, a couple other teams could slot in there, but I think that looks like a pretty good winner for them. And I think it'll probably be Louisville as their opponent. That's my guess.
Okay. Yeah, no, I like that pick. For me, I thought we've been going back and forth for the past few weeks about Penn State and Maryland going to the Pinstripe Bowl, and I think what sealed the deal for me putting Maryland in my humble projections in the Pinstripe was the chance to play UVA, a very historic rivalry in the ACC. And I think really that might be one of if they get UVA and Maryland, that might be one of the best attended Pinstripe Bowls that we might see in recent years and onward. Because it's really hard when you get like with conference alignment to reignite these rivalries through bowls. I know we had a Utah BYU Las Vegas bowl that sold out. And then any time I guess the Big 12 and SEC or the Big 12 and Texas A&M reunite in the Texas Bowl, every couple of years. It's just great. It's a great atmosphere for the bowl. So why would they want to turn that up or turn that down and put maybe like Penn State against UVA or Penn State versus a random ACC school? So that's my take. Virginia, Maryland. Um, I do also think there's a chance they get sent down to Arizona for the guaranteed rate bowl. Um, I think that's possible, but not likely.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like your prediction better than mine. I think if we could get Maryland, Virginia, that would be pretty sweet. I mean, for me, I always see the ACC rivalries more as a basketball thing, but I'd love Maryland, UVA up in the Bronx.
Yeah, absolutely. And Brennan Armstrong versus Talia Tagovailoa, great quarterback duel. Might not be great in the cold of the Bronx, but we can at least try. So staying in the Big Ten, where do you see your Penn State Nittany Lions going, John?
So just about every projection I've seen has them as a lock for the Las Vegas Bowl, and most projections have Arizona State as the opponent, which isn't the worst thing in the world. We could see them in the pinstripe, but I'm going to guess the Las Vegas Bowl.
Yeah, I agree with that one. So for their opponent, in the Las Vegas Bowl, I had them going against Oregon State. Actually, I had Arizona State going to the Holiday Bowl instead. I think that one selects before Las Vegas or after, but I just think Oregon State, it might be a rare year for them to be that high in the Pac-12 totem pole. And also I guess it's the Holiday Bowl with San Diego being so close to Tempe. I think it's really a good choice for them to pick Arizona State. So yeah, I guess the opponent's a moot point, but they seem destined for Las Vegas. And we've talked about that being sort of like a Rose Bowl junior. Pac-12, Big Ten, out west. Should be a fun time in the Roomba.
Yeah, just squint and pretend it's the Rose Bowl.
No sunset though. I mean, closed roof, no sunset. But I mean, one can only imagine. Hope for next year.
Yep.
So moving on to the ACC. For Pitt, first off, do you see Pitt winning the ACC title game? Before we get
I
into
think
bowl
so,
talk
man.
them?
Yeah, I think they're going to win. I think. I mean, obviously anything can happen in the ACC, and Wake has been a great team this year, but I like Pitt's actually defense a little bit better than I like Wake's defense. I think both teams can sling the ball, both teams can score, but I think Pitt's defense shows up when it matters and is able, when I hold Wake to maybe 50 instead of 56.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fair assessment in terms of the defense, because Wake Forest, I mean, they let Clemson go off on them. That there really isn't much to say for that, because Clemson struggled all year with yeah, I'm forgetting his name, DJ Uiagalelei. Really not much of a noteworthy year. I mean, I forgot his name, but for a second there. But yeah, so I think Pitt does pull it off. I think that's wishful thinking for me, because I don't think Pitt's appeared in a New Year's bowl game since the Fiesta Bowl in 2004. And plus, it's only right, I guess. I mean, if you squint hard enough, I guess squinting's the theme. Squinting and imagining's the theme. You squint hard enough, you start to see Matt Kavanaugh and Tony Dorsett, in that mustard yellow and blue. So it's only right that Pitt comes back to a big bowl game in the throwback uniform. So
yeah, so I think they win, and I think that puts them in the Peach Bowl. If that happens, if not, I think it's going to be either the Cheez-It Bowl or maybe the Holiday. But I like Pitt to win, and I like them in the Peach Bowl this year.
I mean, I agree on both fronts. In terms of the Peach Bowl, what do you think their chances would be against Ole Miss? Because Ole Miss looks like they're destined for the Peach Bowl. I gotta think that Pitt opens as a 2-score underdog, I think, to Ole Miss. And I know Kenny Pickett can sling it, but I'm not sure if he can keep up with the lane train out in Oxford, Mississippi.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think even at full strength, they'd be a pretty sizable underdog, and maybe there's a good chance that Kenny sits out, or some other players. I don't know if Matt Corral would sit out. Is he draft eligible this year?
I believe so. I believe he is.
Yeah. So I mean, we might be looking at. I mean, I know it's a New Year's Six bowl, but we might be looking at guys sitting, especially with all the crazy stuff that's been going on with the coaching changes and such. We might be seeing. I don't know if Narduzzi would do it, but he could. But we might be seeing one or more of these coaches in the Northeast bowing out before the actual bowl game, and that could change the whole projection there. Lane Kiffin might be a coach that's bowing out and going elsewhere. If I don't think he'd be the first choice for any blue bloods that are higher status than Ole Miss, but if their first choices fall through, Lane might get the call.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard that with Lane Kiffin. I mean, I want to think that he'll stay at Ole Miss because, I mean, with him being fired from Tennessee, then USC, and then going on his redemption toward FAU, I really thought if he had a good thing going, in the Power Five, that he'd stay. So, I mean, I'm holding out hope for Lane Kiffin staying, but.
Well, he didn't get fired from Tennessee. He left to go to USC.
Right. Okay, that's right. Yeah.
So, I mean, I think he's got aspirations. A guy like that, he's got big appetites, I think, and I don't think he's an Ole Miss lifer. I think he's there. It's a marriage of convenience at this point for them, and they're both happy with it. But I think once when the Blue Bloods come calling, I think Lane is game.
Yeah, and I mean, for now, I think Oklahoma seems like a natural fit. Just the culture, the offensive style. I've heard many friends talk about that. So yeah,
I could see Lane at Oklahoma. I've heard rumors that Venables is a lock for Oklahoma, but who knows if that's true.
Yeah, I've heard that as well. So I mean, we'll see. Hopefully, it's not the case because I mean, I want to see a great quarterback duel out in Atlanta, Corral and Kenny Pickett. Especially, I guess, Kenny Pickett's swan song too. Seems like he's been there forever, really. Almost like the Perry Ellis of college football in some ways. Yeah. But in the event that they don't make the New Year's Six and lose the ACC title game, I think the Cheez-It Bowl seems like honestly a lock too, because otherwise I don't see the Cheez-It Bowl going with the NC State. I feel like the Duke's Mayo Bowl will pursue them pretty hard. Honestly, if they can get a North Carolina school, especially one that's had a very solid year and is ranked, I feel the Duke's Mayo Bowl will do that. I mean, and then aside from that, maybe Clemson gets the Cheez-It Bowl, but I mean, I don't know. They haven't had a noteworthy year, I guess. I mean, because they'd be playing essentially the way I see it. They'd be playing the loser of, well, not actually. Yeah, they'd be playing Kansas State. So maybe Clemson makes it. But yeah, I mean, Pitt seems like a lock for it because the New Year's Six is out of reach for the loser of the title game. So I guess moving out of the, let's see. Any other? Oh yeah, I guess I'm forgetting the most important team, Army. Where do you see Army go bowling? Because I think they're the biggest wild card of all the Northeastern bowl teams.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of different projections here, and the one that I'm most pleased is the one we've been talking about before, that Myrtle Beach Bowl versus Coastal Carolina, the whole high end tights versus mullets. I'd like that personally, just for the joke. I saw Armed Forces versus Western Kentucky, which is fine. And then Gasparilla versus LSU potentially. That could be a fun matchup, especially with all the goings on down there with Brian Kelly coming in. I'm sure he won't actually coach the game, but it would be a great way to kick it off.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of options. I think the ones you mentioned in terms of Coastal Carolina in the Myrtle Beach Bowl, not really an attractive option in my opinion, because we have the opening game next year against Coastal on the it's not even the Smurf turf, the surf turf. Geez, there's so much colored turfs with nicknames. I mean, so yeah, on the surf turf next year. So it will be repetitive. Would they draw? Absolutely. I mean, there's Army post, the post that I'm at 3 hours away from Myrtle Beach, quick drive. I mean, there's one in North Carolina. That's a few hour drive too. So, I mean, Army fans would show up in droves. Well, not really droves, but as much as they can at Conway Stadium, or not in Brooks Stadium in Conway. With Western Kentucky, that's a rematch. I'm not sure how attractive that is because Army's been through that before too. 2016 for the Heart of Dallas Bowl, ended up playing North Texas in a rematch, and it's just like it's never fun, honestly. Bowl games are always great, but it's like you want those unique matchups. So the Gasparilla Bowl, that's one that I think I would hope for. LSU would be pretty sick. Little Paul Dietzel Bowl action as he left LSU for Army back in the early 60s. An opponent that I'd actually like would be Louisville. I think, reignite that Conference USA rivalry back in the 90s and stuff. So that's my preference. But I think ultimately as much as I hate to say it, I feel like Army ends up in Texas. Huge Army presence there in either the first responder or the Armed Forces Bowl. Opponent, I'd have to say, I can't really say which Conference USA team, but I feel like it'll be a Conference USA team. Maybe a Marshall. I've seen the Marshall and Armed Forces Bowl. That one's pretty cool. I guess we can finally get revenge on a Marshall for what Randy Moss did on that one screen pass that always gets replayed. That's the only thing I can think of for an attractive matchup there. But yeah, I'd say somewhere in Texas, and just a good way to cap a 9-3 year. I just hope they get a quality Group of 5 team, or hopefully a Power 5 team, as is always a hope for Group of 5 schools.
Yeah, all good possibilities. I didn't realize that about the opener against Coastal next year, so I changed my vote that I don't have.
I mean, yeah, we can have a what do you call it? A sequel. We can have a series, 1 and 2. I mean, I guess if there was a sequel to Catholics versus Convicts, that was noteworthy at all. I don't remember if the sequels was noteworthy, but maybe we can top it.
Maybe.
I guess moving on to our last school, Boston College. I think we both think that they're a lock for the Fenway Bowl at 6-6.
Yep, that's what it's looking like.
Opponent wise, who do you think they face?
I've been seeing pretty much Memphis as the lock.
Okay, well, Memphis accepted a bid to the Hawaii Bowl this week,
well,
so yeah,
shows how much I know.
no worries. I've seen Houston and SMU. I think SMU is more likely, in my opinion, than Houston. I just think Houston's too good this year to be playing a 6-6 team, and even if it's a Power 5 team in a bowl game.
Oh yeah, SMU makes sense as well. Be interesting to see what Houston does this weekend against Cincy. Obviously, if they get that win, that might bump them up. But yeah, SMU,
it would be
DC
interesting.
would be,
yeah, it would be interesting because I'm not sure if they'd hop San Diego State for the New Year's 6 spot. But I guess so. My opinion for Houston, I guess drawing up projections, I think the ideal scenario for ESPN, since they're running pretty much all the Americans Bowls, would be for Houston to lose the American title game and then play App State or Louisiana, whoever the winner is of that game in the Cure Bowl. So you have, I guess, 2 11-win teams going at it in Orlando, opening night of bowl season. That's my vision. I think why Houston gets pushed out of the Fenway and you put SMU in 8-4 American team versus a 6-6 ACC school. Seems like a pretty fair match, honestly.
right on.
I guess with that note, any chances that I guess ESPN sets up a Sam Howell versus Tanner Mordecai match for the Fenway Bowl? I guess bumping Boston College out. I think that's a very slim chance because they have options with UNC.
Yeah, where does BC end up in that situation?
I guess in that situation, I'd say maybe a first responder bowl. I guess they finally get to finish a first responders bowl after what happened in 2018.
Yeah, I don't know. I think if some of those North Carolina boys might boycott the bowl if they had to go up to Boston. So I don't see it happening.
I mean, that's true. It's America's ballpark, though. I mean, who can aid America's ballpark?
I don't know, man. I for sure wouldn't want to play the. I mean, it wouldn't be that bad. But I'd much rather, if I was UNC, play somewhere down south. Personally,
Agreed. Yeah. No. I mean, you can only sell Fenway Park and its charm so much. So yeah, I guess Boston College destined for the Fenway Bowl. And I guess covering all these bowls, we covered the Pinstripe, who we think. The one bowl we haven't really covered is the Military Bowl. East Carolina accepted their bid earlier this week. Who do you think their opponent will be in Annapolis? And do you think they're a good fit for the bowl location and just team skill wise?
Yeah. So, I mean, location's not terrible. I mean, I don't know what that drive is like from Annapolis to, East Carolina, but yeah, I mean, it can't be more than 4 or 5 hours. I don't know my mid-Atlantic geography all that well. I think it could be Virginia Tech going down to the Military Bowl, which would be a pretty solid matchup for them. I mean, in terms of in terms of the bowl itself, you've got two fairly local teams. I think it's a bit of an underachieving year for VT, but it could be worse. Got a new coach coming in, Brent Pry from Penn State. I think they're pretty energized about that. I think some of the more casual fans are not super in love with him because he's not a big name, but as a Penn State fan, I know that he's a pretty solid defensive coordinator, and he's been recruiting the hell out of the DMV area, pilfering all the defensive talent. So I'm not looking forward to going up against him in those recruiting battles. So, I don't hate the matchup if that's what it ends up being.
I agree with the matchup. I think that's what it ends up being like in all likelihood. Being that North Carolina was in the bowl in 2019, so a lot of frequency there. And Louisville would be another logical choice, but I have Louisville going to the Sun Bowl as they've never appeared in the Sun Bowl, and I feel like that's what determines who goes to the Sun Bowl. It's like if you've never been to El Paso, make that trip to the West Texas town of El Paso, and just I get it over with, So I guess 95% sure it's gonna be Virginia Tech. I feel 5% Louisville. At freezing cold takes, we'll see who it is. I think they match up. I think East Carolina matches up well with either school. Pretty solid defense. I think Raekwon McMillan's the solid corner that they have, and then Holton Ahlers, really had a breakout year. I think he's like a fourth or fifth year junior or something, but been there for another guy's been there forever, developed and had a nice year. Really solid quarterback. So I think East Carolina matches up well. Could snag a Power 5 win for the American.
Could be.
Yeah, so shoot, the excitement's building. On Sunday we'll know everything, and I guess next week then we'll be reviewing this tape and looking how much of these predictions we're right on, and also maybe previewing the games too. So John, do you have anything else to say about our predictions or anything confirmed or anything?
No, man, I'm just in shock at the. I know this is not the point of the pod, but the recent coaching carousel, all the goings ons. We talked about Brent Pry going down, but that I'm happy for him. Hope he rocks it out in the ACC. But I'm really shocked at both the major news of Lincoln Riley and Brian Kelly, and I'm interested to see how this impacts bowl season, because obviously it's not going to touch the bowls that we're talking about here, the teams that we're talking about, but that carousel is going to keep going, and I think that maybe one or two of these coaches might end up getting a Brinks truck backed up to their house, and they might be off into the sunset, and that could change quite a lot about how their team performs.
Yeah, I will say this about Brian Kelly, and I think it kind of goes with our Northeast theme, because Notre Dame has a huge impact in the history of Northeastern college football. All the games in Yankee Stadium, the rivalry with Army, Navy, and the current rivalry with the Navy. But I just think it's messed up how Brian Kelly didn't retire. I guess I didn't expect him to retire anything or, bow out and break Knute Rockne's record. But if you're gonna break Knute Rockne's record, at least stay at Notre Dame, until the end of your career. I think what Lou Holtz did was very noble, being a huge fan of the history of the game, and leaving Notre Dame, retiring a little before he broke Knute Rockne's record. So that's really all I have to say. Call me old fashioned, but I'm not, and also with that too, it's like I understand money too. Like I'm not an idiot, I get we live in a capitalist society. I get it too, but it's just like, Knute Rockne's probably turning in his grave that Brian Kelly did that.
Well, just the timing of it these days is so bizarre. We have the season's not over. We have we have conference championship weekend. We have bowl games that we have made. Like Notre Dame is going to go to a New Year's Six bowl, and they might even go to the playoffs. Like it wouldn't take that much. Oklahoma, they're going to go to a good bowl. It's insane. Like I don't remember a year in which so many like highly ranked teams lost their coach before the season was over.
Yeah, it really is bizarre. I haven't seen it either, and I guess with exits as ugly as Lincoln Riley's exit wasn't really that ugly, I guess. He say though that he was going to stay at Oklahoma. I'm not sure if he did actually say he was going to stay in Norman.
I don't remember exactly. I wasn't following it because I didn't really think it was a serious possibility. I do remember though that the Oklahoma fans were making a big deal, and there was a lot of rumor about him going to LSU, and he made a very bold statement of like, I'm not going to LSU, which was true. He didn't lie, and he did not go to LSU. He ended up going to USC. But in looking at all this, it brings up James Franklin in my mind, obviously as a Penn State fan, and he was very candid through the whole process. I think maybe it did end up hurting the season a little bit. Maybe we don't lose that Illinois game if Franklin's not in some of ththese talks, or his name's not in the conversation. Maybe distraction. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe so. But at least he had to take a couple of lumps during the season for not outright denying a lot of these rumors. But at least at the end of the day, if he does end up going, he hasn't lied to the team. So a lot of people gave him a lot of flack throughout the season with all these rumors swirling, but I think that's probably the best way to handle it. So a lot of times the cover up is worse than the crime.
Oh, no, that's a very, very wise words there. I haven't really heard that the cover up's more better than the crime, but I mean, yeah, I guess nothing beats. I don't know. I guess this can be, a last note before we head off. But do you like whose coaching exit was uglier in your opinion? Do you think Bobby Petrino's exit from the Falcons was uglier, or Brian Kelly's text fiasco and then 2-minute team meeting? Like which one was uglier in your opinion?
Well, I can't remember exactly the whole situation with Petrino, but I think he's like an all-time scumbag. Kelly's probably, for some rumors are now coming out about Kelly. I don't know what's true and what's not. Like maybe he's not the most graceful guy. I don't know. He's I'm sure some of the rumors are true, and maybe he owes some people an apology. But yeah, I think pretty much always I'm going to vote against Bobby Petrino if his name comes up. So yeah, I'd go with him.
I mean, shoot, yeah. I guess last note too. Bobby Petrino, all-time scumbag, but you can't deny the body of work with Louisville, Arkansas, Western Kentucky for that 1 year, and then now Missouri State led them to their first playoff appearance, I think, in 29 years in the spring, and went back to back, proved it wasn't a fluke. You can't beat the bad boy of college football, I guess. I mean, I guess that's our lesson here.
Yeah, man. Just make sure that if you hire him as your coach, that your buyout is is pretty massive, and that your contract's rock solid.
Yeah, again, yeah, wise words for athletic directors. And with that, we'll close an exciting episode of the Northeastern Bull Rush. Be on the lookout this Sunday for to see if our predictions are true, and we'll either own up or be prideful next episode and preview these games. So until next time, peace, love, and soul, everyone.